I live in rural Southwest Virginia, and I have a house that was built in the late 1800s, early 1900s. It needs remodeled because nothing was built right. There were no standards. They just threw stuff together. I need to rip out the floor, the subfloor, and the joists on the first story in what would be the living room and my daughter's bedroom. And in order to do that, I need to find a place to put my daughter. So I looked online. I'll just buy her a tiny house, stick it on the property, no big deal. Well, they want $170,000. Well, not all of them. Some of them are less. Virginia uses the ICB, Appendix Q, and the Appendix Q defines a tiny house as anything less than 400 square feet, not counting the loft. So if you really go online and you start looking at these pre-made tiny houses, they are greater than 400 square feet. If they're greater than 400 square feet, they're not a tiny house. And if they're not a tiny house, they don't abide by tiny house rules. So things like the stairs, those aren't allowable stairs in a house. So my plan is to build a modular tiny house. And by modular, I mean that when the time comes and I'm done remodeling the first floor, and then I move to the first floor and I remodel the second floor, she could technically have a room back. But if she already has a house, we can move it wherever. Or I can put it on the mountain if she's found an apartment or whatever. So my idea is to build one that, say, the porch detaches, the second floor and loft detach, and then the first floor is there. So there's 3 modular pieces. They can all be loaded onto a trailer and moved. I talked to the Mennonites in the area. They move large storage buildings. They have a mule and specialized trailer. I explained to them what I was doing, and they said as long as I abide by the height and width laws, there's no reason they can't fairly easily move it. So I went and talked to the building inspector. Now, the building inspector and I get along real well, so we had a long discussion. No one's really in this county built a tiny house yet, so I started laying them out. Well, I'm trying to build something in a non-typical way, and as I was laying it out, I ran across the one that's being displayed now, and was like, oh crap, that is basically what I laid out, down to everything except for when I laid their footprint over my footprint. I'm a foot narrower than they are, but they had a nicely angled wall between the bedroom and the bathroom, and I liked it so much I altered my plan to match theirs. My build's going to be atypical for a couple reasons, one of which is I really truly need to control the racking. So as it comes apart, I need to make sure that the pieces don't flex and twist as they're being loaded or unloaded onto a trailer. The other is I'm going to use an exterior and interior insulation. So things like the floor base, it will be exterior plywood, then a foam board, and then the joists. And the joists will be filled with a dense packed cellulose material. Then it will have the subfloor, which will be like an Advantech or something, and then the flooring. The walls will have extra reinforcement across the top. There will be an inset board horizontally on top. There's other things such as, because the floor is contained and sealed, I will not be able to get to the plumbing in the future. So the plumbing, the PEX, is going to have to be run from an access panel underneath through PVC to each individual fixture, so that if, say, a line gets a problem, I can then pull the line back out from the fixture, like, say, the kitchen sink, all the way back to the access port to the manifold and change it out without tearing into any of the insulated floor. The walls will be similar, so we're going to have to separate the upstairs from the downstairs. And in order to do so, I'm going to have to put the electrical in such a way that I can unhook a junction box and totally break off the top from the bottom. So all of this will be back and forth with the building inspector. Like I'm saying, we get along, and he is actually, I'm interested, he's interested. This will be a unique build. I'm not going in totally blind into building this. I used to own a kitchen, bath, and tile remodeling company. I've remodeled many houses. I helped a friend build a house from the ground up for his mom when it burned down. Actually, I'm still currently doing that. The design or drawing or the image currently on the screen now shows where the planned house is going to go versus where my current house is. So the blue line is where our water line currently runs. It runs down off the mountain from a spring. The red line is the utility power line, and then the pink box is the tiny home. So I have approval for septic to tie into our existing septic. I'm waiting on the power company to come and tell me where they can put in a pole. After that, it will be begin the foundation. Well, I guess I have to get the building permit first. I have a few trees to cut down, some branches to cut off. There's a kid, I call him a kid, but he's in his mid-20s, works with me. He wants to help. I don't need help, but he asked to help because he wants to learn. So I'm going to work on teaching him, and I figure if I'm going to actually take the time to explain what I'm doing rather than just do it, which is kind of how I go through life, that I may as well record it, because if he finds some value in it, maybe some other people will find some value in it. I tend to learn from my own mistakes. Like, that is how I've made it through. You just do something, and when it's dumb, you just don't do it again. So I figure if I do something and it's stupid, maybe someone else will see that's stupid and they won't have to go through the trouble themselves. So that is kind of how my training philosophy works. See what I did? Yeah, don't do that. The way I'm going to do some of this will be atypical, so it might be worth watching. If you want to like and subscribe, do or don't. I don't really care. I'm not going to play an algorithm game. I'm not going to do anything other than just do what I do. If I was trying to play an algorithm game, I'd have probably put some stupid picture on the front with my arms out being like, the man doesn't want you to know, or untold super secrets, or any of the other stupid crap that's out there. So this will be what it is, and that'll be all that it is. I'll do my best to explain what I'm doing. If you're starting out with this video, then stay tuned. If you find this in the future, one of the other ones, maybe it's go back and understand what his goal was. But either way,